Hello, darlings. Welcome to Free of Fear, Full of Joy. I'm Jahari, and this is Sarah.
Today's podcast is brought to you by We Don't Give a Fuck. The views expressed are solely opinion. We do not advise any individual to act upon our shared experiences. We are adults with strong opinions and good intentions. Let's fucking do this!
You're a nut.
You're welcome.
So when people ask about what Free of Fear, Full of Joy is, I usually say that it's, Sarah and I have a shared experience of, loss and, heartbreak, really young in our lives. Sarah being a young widow and myself being a young divorcee and a single mother. We regrouped and rebuilt our lives, being fearless and having joy and just wanting to and be happy in our life instead of taking the pain with us as we move forward. I spent a lot of time in my life battling fear of communication, speaking my mind. I thought that I was happy, but really I was miserable. I really did think I was happy on the surface, but there was always something nagging at the center of my peace that made me feel like I wasn't happy. And I realized that it was my fear of communicating what I needed from people, what I needed from everyone. It was a very interesting journey, and I had to very quickly overcome my fear of communication as I went into a very lengthy custody and divorce battle. I was always in scenarios and situations that I wasn't necessarily happy with, and I had to consistently focus on my communication because the survival of myself and my children really depended on that. I decided I was going to create some mantras for my life, and I'd like to share them. I will be fearless in my communication. I will be consistent in my communication. I will be free of fear in my decisions. I will find joy in my communication, consistency, and decisions. Eventually, I put all of those together and came up with one powerful statement: free of fear, full of joy. Hey, everybody say it with me. Free of fear, full of joy. Free of fear, full of joy. Free of fear, full of joy. Okay, so I guess you want to know who we are. I'm Jahari. This is Sarah.
And one thing folks don't know is that Jahari is a beautiful goddess, and I'm her sidekick. I'm just trying to hold her hand and share the warmth of that glorious sunshine she exudes.
Okay, Sarah, you are your own goddess, and you radiate beautiful energy too. You're a beam of light, love, and spirituality, and we were just destined to be great friends.
That's right.
Join together and taking over the world one podcast at a time. This is our first podcast, and we've decided to bare our souls, share our viewpoints about life, about our unique experiences. Love it or hate it, darling.
Okay. And with that unique perspective, we realized that it was conjured by loss and redemption.
Let's talk about love, loss, and joy. Free of fear, full of joy, baby. Let's do this. Okay, Sarah.
Give me your
I want to Sarah, I want to talk to you about George. George was your first husband, and you had an amazing love affair with him. Can you tell me how you met him?
I sure can. So, believe it or not, we were in the same friend circle for 4 years of college, but went to 2 different colleges and never really crossed paths. Probably were at the same parties at some point, but I didn't meet him until after I graduated. And I was at a party. I had a headache, and he noticed that. And I was like, all right. And at that time, I was dating all kinds of terrible men, like all the bad boys.
Is that what made you interested in him after 4 years?
Not really, because I thought he was gay.
Oh, no, the kiss of death.
He was like, he was best friends with a buddy. And I was like, I'm not going to, but he ended up buying me. He went out of his way and bought me ibuprofen, brought it back. And I remember sitting on a trampoline with everybody and just being like, what? And
Mm.
then I asked my girlfriend, I was like, what's his deal? What is he all about? And she was like, I can't believe I never introduced you. And so then it
Oh.
unfolded. And at that point, we were inseparable, having just fun adventures, being kids again,
Mhm.
going to silly dates like, Dave and Buster's and like playing arcade games. And one thing that we always bonded
Yeah.
over was having fun and being kids
Mhm.
again. And that allowed us to build a strong relationship. And like when it came to coming down to commitment, it wasn't an issue. It was something I knew. I
So
knew I
those
was
are the
going to marry
things
him.
that you guys really connected on.
Yeah.
So how long after that, since you guys had such an amazing connection, did you get engaged?
We did. Pretty quick too. I would say we were dating for like less than a year or so, year and a
Mhm.
half maybe, and
Mhm.
we were in Las Vegas.
You
But
got
I thought we were
engaged in
just
Las
like, yeah, I
Vegas?
thought we were just having a fun trip.
Cute.
And then there were a few moments where I'm like, where did he go? Apparently he was at Tiffany's.
Oh, nice. Good taste.
And then I guess when he wanted to propose, it just never worked out because like the sales associate was supposed to bring out the ring at the time of the Bellagio fountains were going off, and like he was calling, and I was like, where's he going? Like, anyways, and then
His
like
plan wasn't coming
it
together.
did not come together, but he ended up proposing like 3 o'clock in the morning after we had like spent a whole day of day drinking. And then I was like, did you ask my daddy? He didn't.
You wanted that.
Yeah, so we had to ask him the
Aw.
next morning. But it
Yeah.
all was like I remember it so vividly. It was a really wonderful experience and nothing that I really expected, but I knew I was gonna marry him. Like, when you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys made a lot of plans after that. You got excited, wedding
Yeah.
planning, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
We were engaged for like about a year and a half,
Yeah.
and we were getting married here in Burbank at the
Right.
lovely Pickwick Gardens, which is a one-stop shopping
You
for
can get it
weddings.
all.
You can get it all. You can get bowling. You can get
Yeah.
bowling, which we did.
And ice skating. You can
Ice
get
skating.
all
Ice
that.
skating wasn't open when we went, but
Oh, okay.
yeah. But
Okay.
and then we had a beautiful ceremony outdoors. We had to get special permission because I'm Catholic. But we
Yes.
had both representations of our religious backgrounds there marrying us, and it
Nice.
was a beautiful thing. We had a big wedding. Lots of people got really drunk.
Like you should,
Yeah.
as you should
Yeah.
on
It
your
was
wedding
everything.
day.
It was the dream. It really was.
Yeah. So I'm going to take this a different direction.
Oh.
But how long after you guys got engaged did you find out you were sick?
Well, so what's unique about that is I actually at that point was still in recovery. So
Okay.
I met George. And then within 5-6 months, ended up having thyroid cancer. Had to go through the surgery. And I remember it was all very sudden. I probably was dating him maybe October, November, and then surgery was in April. So I just remembered that he was there for my mother in a time that I would never ask him to. I thought he was going to go back to work when I was going under the knife. He ended up waiting with my mom for 7 hours in the waiting room.
Mhm.
And my mom just kept saying, he is such an angel. He is such an angel.
Aw.
Yeah, but he helped me get through that because it was a roller coaster in terms of just treatment. It's a
And
wonderful
all while you're
prognosis.
planning your wedding.
No, not even yet. No, yeah, that was after. But no, this was still when we were dating. But I think that was the turning point because he really knew how to help me through that
Yeah.
process because I didn't have the capacity. It would take me 2 hours to take a shower.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was because I like was completely like your whole hormonal system just gets completely thrown off when
Right.
your thyroid comes out.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
but just to clarify, then went through the treatment, got better, still went through a hormonal roller coaster, but was in the clear, was good to go. We got engaged, and the next thing we know, we were getting married, and then that was that. Like we
Right.
were building our new life. We were moving
And
into
that's pretty happy.
Yeah.
Like those moments after. So like having,
Yeah.
being unwell and then having the person you love stick by you, because not everybody does that and do it
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
to the point where you really couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah,
you
we
know?
were 23, 24.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
very
like,
young.
we
That's
were
very
kids still.
young.
Like, our friends were partying. We were going to the
Yeah.
bars and, like,
Yeah.
working 60 hours a week, like, work hard, play hard, and then,
My
have the
favorite
energy to
thing.
keep that going, and then dating, and then.
Right. So you guys got married. You
Mhm.
moved into your house and you started planning, and then George started having problems?
He did. So we got married and then we moved into a new place. And with a month's time, he started having debilitating migraines to the point where it was like, okay, this is odd. And then, he went to his primary several times and they, appropriately diagnosed him. But it still wasn't helping. Like he was taking pretty high grade pain medicine and it resulted into there was no resolution at that point. He ended up having a catatonic seizure and was completely unconscious for like 15 to 25 minutes. Meanwhile, as soon as it started happening, I called the ambulance, rushed him to the hospital, and they found a lesion in his brain. And that was the one moment where I remember so vividly being in the emergency room with him, flashing to the day we got married, seeing him. Yeah. And I was just like, what the flying fuck? Like, are you kidding me right now? Right. And he was on a breathing tube. Like he was not coming, he wasn't coming out of it. And I didn't know any of his medical history. Thank God his mother and father were there. I didn't know that he had a seizure when he was 18. I didn't know any of this. And that's the thing, when you marry young, there's a lot of history we don't know yet. As time passes, you learn more about your partner and more about their medical history, but it's not like, here's my diagnostic history. Please take a look at this. But anyways.
So what did the doctor say?
It was pretty terrible. He ended up having emergency surgery at a well-known medical facility in Seattle. Top doctors. They took out a huge mass out of his brain. And then when they did the, I want to say what's the word that's not biopsy? Coming to me? Not the biopsy, but when they test the tissue to see what it is, it ended up being glioblastoma multiforme, which is the worst brain tumor you could have. It's called the Terminator, which means that there is 18 months prognosis in terms of living. It will just tarantula your brain, put you in states of seizures, and other issues will happen. It's just, it was not an ideal thing.
So his prognosis was for how long?
18 months. Yeah. Okay. But at the day of the surgery, his buddies all shaved their heads in commemoration of it. And they were huge support. We had a huge support network in our friends group and in our family, and we wouldn't have gotten through without them. And I'll always be grateful for their love and friendship.
So he went from helping you through cancer, and this is all within a 2-year period or less, to having a tumor in his own brain. Yeah. And so at this point, what were your interactions with him? How were you guys dealing with this? Because it's you can't make this up.
Oh, no, it was no choice. I quickly turned into get organized. Let's get this shit together. Figure out who needs to research what. We were getting a lot of information from all different ends on what to do, what not to do.
From doctors?
Of doctors, yeah. From family members too. We had help. People were bringing us food. He was still recovering because it was a major surgery. He was on his feet pretty quickly, but I mean, it was like a 7-inch scar on his skull. Yeah. And they took out 90%, but that 10% we knew was going to eventually linger back.
So how was your relationship with him at this point? What was his
it was pretty
mental state?
Yeah, he was having trouble cognitively, but did try to get himself back to work, in which he did. In terms of love, it was definitely there. We just were there for one another, and I honestly didn't have a choice. I had to also get my driver's license. I didn't have my driver's license. One of my best friends to this day helped me drive my ass around Seattle, and she taught me how to drive. She's very much, very much still in my life to this day, but she was one of George's best friends, and is now one of mine. And I couldn't have done it without her. She really taught me how to drive. And then, because I had to take him to appointments, he could not drive. There's a law, and most states have this, where if you have a seizure, you can't drive after for 6 months or so. Yes. But at that point, he just didn't trust himself. Yes. And there was a bit of a ebb and flow about having confidence in himself again, because this is an athlete, like somebody who's brilliant and was a computer programmer. Like his mind was just like endless and like was always thinking, but like didn't get weird about it. Wasn't like dazing off into another world, but he was like present and direct. Like a lot of his personality did change, but it wasn't necessarily for the worse. And in fact, I kind of
But
made
did your personality change?
Oh, no, I was like a complete pressure cooker, like anything. I was also getting my Pilates certification at the same time because I had to quickly go into, I need to be the breadwinner. I need to do this. I need to get to a point where I can take care of us because he wasn't able to work, even though we were able to get support financially and other means. But no, my back went out for 9 months at one point too. It was stressful.
The stress was just debilitating at times. Being a caregiver is very hard.
And also I think at that point I was like 26, 27, but I'm kind of used to those levels of stress. I grew up with a brother who has several health issues, and whenever it came to emergencies, I got like hyper focused. Like I was in this zone where I was able to perform and and just make sure that everything was moving forward.
Right.
But to maintain that, it's a disaster. It really is. I had my outlets. I was making dance work. I drove my dance company nuts with the same damn dance piece for 2 years. They're like, enough of Motown. We get it. You're struggling. Move on. But it was a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
So,
and it wasn't that long ago either.
Right. So how long did he make it to 18 months?
He made it to 44.
Wow.
He made it 1 week past our 4-year anniversary.
That's amazing.
So that's the thing, is like willpower is amazing, and it was his descent to a state where he was no longer able to communicate, along with all the other things that happen when people slowly start to shut down, isn't easy to watch. And it was but I really tried to be there for him as if this was our last best day. But that whole process was just, it was beyond what I imagined. And if I had known it was going to be like that, I don't know if I would have done what I done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I had the support from family, and I had the medical support and staff to help through that process. But, I really have a respect for people who are in the medical field, specifically hospice, because It's not easy to help people die.
Right. So he eventually succumbs to his tumors, and I'm so sorry that you lost him. You're welcome. But is there anything through all that process that you learned, or what was the moment that you realized that all this was for this epiphany, realization, in your mind, in your heart?
Yeah, the roller coaster that I was in for like 4 years was at times volatile. There were moments where I was so angry and wanted to leave, and then I didn't know who he was anymore. I didn't know who I was anymore. And then remembering that no matter what happens in a marriage or any relationship, that you always want to seek falling in love with someone as they are in that moment. And the greatest gift that George gave me was to truly embrace unconditional love, and to know what that's like, and to realize like, oh, it's so simple. It's just so simple. It's simple. Just love fully in every way that you can. And times are always going to be challenging, and to not let them derail you so terribly where, being self-destructive. It sometimes happens. There's no judgment there. But that gift I'll never forget, and I do my best to operate in that way to this very day with every relationship that I had. Because I used to be a selfish motherfucker. Ask my mama. I am the youngest of 2 brothers, which means I'm an only child.
True. very, very true. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
but and then there's more to that, but it's definitely unconditional love. And
Well, that's beautiful.
yeah,
That's beautiful, Sarah.
thank you.
I'm always amazed that all of that happened in your life and you still come out of it, you know, appreciating it, learning something from it, and also um, turning it into something positive and not dwelling on it. You know, you just,
Well, I didn't actually have a choice to dwell on it. Like,
oh,
after he passed away, I had to get back to work within 2 weeks. I had like nothing.
well,
But yeah,
also,
yeah.
some people could just become self destructive, like you
Oh yeah,
said,
yeah, yeah.
and decide to check out from life altogether. And
I did. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that's,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it is. But what I'm saying is that some people could take that to the point where they never recover.
Oh yeah, there's
They
like
never
there's a
recover.
grace period, however
Yeah.
long that is.
Well,
But
grief.
one thing that I did learn though was that there are no rules to grief. In that, yes, there's like those seven. That I don't want to. I'm not even gonna try to remember what the process is. I know it's anger,
I can never
denial.
remember
Yeah,
them
yeah,
all.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
a bunch of,
Yeah.
look it up on the Googles. But but
On the
there was a
Googles.
point where when I looked in the mirror, I couldn't see myself anymore. And that's when my best friend was like, it's like walking on eggshells with you all the time.
Hmm.
I really think you need to get some therapy. And then I was like, okay. So I did. I did seek therapy
Good.
probably about 3 or 4 months after. But I was going through a carpe diem. Like, I was at the point where I thought I could just, of course I could just be a backup singer for Katy Perry. I could do anything.
Okay.
So there's a weird sense of hyper reality after somebody you love so much passes away, because then it's
Hmm.
like, who am I now? Like,
Yeah.
what do I do?
Right.
Or
Right. You were
whenever
so
any
very
life
connected
change.
to him.
Yes.
A lot of life in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Congratulations for making it through,
Yeah. I mean,
with a few scars and a smile
yeah.
at the same time. Okay.
I know. I really need just like a walking meme on top of me that says, I seen some shit.
No, you don't, because then people will avoid you.
They're like, what the shit? She looks like a Care Bear, but she bites like a bear.
You're
A
a Care
grizzly.
Bear. You're a Care Bear.
Ugh.
Well, again, I think that's just amazing. He left a big impression on you. He left
Mhm.
a stamp on your heart.
Oh, P.S. He didn't really leave though, because somebody we
Wait.
know has a guardian angel.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I've been in so many instances where I've almost died and I
Yeah.
haven't, and I'm just like,
Aw.
okay. So I mean, like I know that kind of sounds extreme, but I'm not lying. I'm not lying.
Okay.
So, and since his passing, many things with focused effort have come through.
Right.
I was able to rebuild my life, rebuild my connections to family and friends, rebuild a new business, and pursue other interests that I have, specifically this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So meeting you is probably a big turning point, because P.S. Jari also helped me navigate my second wedding, because I was a crazy bridezilla who was having
Shocker.
several emotional breakdowns during that
Shocker.
process.
You were a bridezilla.
But we
I'm
won't
so
get there
surprised.
yet. Rawr, rawr. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for listening.
You're welcome. I'm always willing to listen.